So today I'm going to be doing a real life review of the Flexx grips in action. I'm going to be taking it through a pull day today. Every pull motion I'm doing is going to be using the Flexx grips themselves, which are a pretty cool piece of equipment because the thought here is that you can slap it on a bar or something that's fixed and it allows for that rotation to find the elbow angle and wrist position you want to train a certain portion of your back, relieve elbow and shoulder pain, wrist pain, whatever it is. I do like these already right off the bat compared to what is like an angle 90 grip because of the lack of slack due to the more metal nature versus a nylon nature. The handle feels pretty comfortable. So I'm excited to give these a run today. The one rule I have is I'm not gonna do it on any exercise that already has a swivel handle. Every motion I'm doing for back today is something on a fixed handle. That way I can get the best feedback possible. So I'll take you guys through a full back workout and I'll give you my review at the end. So one important thing to take into consideration when you're using these extended handle type implements is how it adjusts the resistance profile of the machine. So if I'm here, I'm already gonna start with that lever at a different angle than if I have it here. So now that lever is more perpendicular, or sorry, parallel to the ground. So when you have these extra implements, you gotta make sure you do things like adjust your seat. My seat is lower than it might normally be if I was just using this handle, okay? And one consideration is with the machine then, how that impacts like just the comfort of the machine, aside from the actual mechanics of it. Like if I was much lower, this would be up into like my face, and that just wouldn't be something I could comfortably rock through. On this particular pull down, this actually feels really good because now I can find this slot where I can kind of lock into my lat, and this handle is a little bit supinated, which is nice, but it still gets my elbow just a little bit. So this allows me to get just a little bit less supination, lock it on lat and ride through. So two considerations there. Number one, think about how it adjusts the resistance profile of the machine, and two, how it adjusts the comfort level of the machine. One more consideration on these, when you're like actually locking these in, this handle is angled downwards, so that slips off a little bit easier, especially with load. That started here at the start of the set, and by the end of the warm-up, it's kind of like there. So just make sure that you're considering your safety of using the machine. If I had some rubber grips on this might make it feel a little bit better, but a handle that's too angled is gonna slip, so this might be a little more ideal for something a little more like level or parallel of a handle. So we're about to get our first working set here. We'll see how these things hold up with some load. One other thing is when you're strapping in, there's a bolt right here. Just careful of scratching the hell out of your finger. We'll see how these things hold up. That felt incredible. I couldn't fully go to fail though because these were slipping. So I definitely need to get some rubber on these and or just use them on different handles. But that was one of the best feeling lat pulls I've done. That was a perfect slot. First reactions, very smooth swivel here. This mechanism's solid. 2, I really like the fact that I'm not getting slack. When I'm using my angle 90s, I feel that little slack, and the way you have to hold it kind of pinches my fingers. On this one, I'm actually grabbing a handle that just feels like an extension of this handle, which I really like. That felt incredible. So assuming the mechanics of this machine works with this on it, I think this is a good thing to use on something like a pull down or a hammer pull down machine. All right, so first exercise was a lat pull down. Felt really good with the adjustment to the seat height. Now we're gonna move on to an upper back focused row. A lot of T-bar rows, the hands are pretty straight out to the side so your wrists are pronated. Sometimes I like to have a little more of like a 45-degree angle in the wrist for like that upper mid back stimulus. So we're gonna try that on this one. One thing I'm concerned about is how much range of motion I'm gonna lose at the bottom with that extra extension on there. So assuming I can get a full stretch, I'm thinking this is gonna feel pretty good. Right off the bat, slot was money. Just that little bit of like semi-pronated angle in the wrist felt awesome. I'm about 5'11", that's normal arm length, and I like just tapped the bottom at the very bottom. If you're taller and have longer arms, this might not work. If you're shorter, should be absolutely no problem. If you are taller, adding like a extra chest pad here to get that little bit of range of motion could make all the difference, but that actually felt amazing. Considering the resistance profile like on the pull down, on this one, remember, as we pull up, if we have an extended handle, one thing about the T-bar row, why it's good for back training, is it lets off as you kind of finish the rep a bit, so you can actually get that elbow back. On this one, the longer handle is affecting my ability to like fully drop that resistance curve off. So it still feels really good, totally worth it, but just those couple inches is now making it hit just a little bit harder in the shortened position than it was initially. Felt good. Definitely felt a little more shortened range load for sure, but I was able to use a little more load than I normally use on the Angles 90 just because I felt like I was more connected to the handle. So whatever I was giving to the machine, I was getting back out versus losing it in that slack. So that felt really good. And even with the little resistance profile change, it's not gonna be a big issue. So now we're moving on to the hammer DY row. So just a lat focused row. I'm anticipating this not working just because of the range of motion issue that I even kind of normally have on this one when doing it single arm. So we'll see how this works. Yeah. Already, like I can't get any tension here unless I like really slide my hips back, and even then I'm kind of bottoming out. So I could kind of like rock through here and it'd be okay, but I can't really sink through on lat without losing tension. This is all the way back and my hips are slid all the way forward. So One downside of this is the fact that this is a pretty long mechanism. And while it works great like this adds a good amount of range of motion to that handle, which means that you're gonna bottom it out a little bit sooner if you're not careful or you're too tall. All right, so I couldn't do it on that lat row. We're gonna try it on the Cybex lat row here to see how this feels. Again, I'm hoping I don't have the same issue, although I think I will be a little more okay than on that one. Having a bit of a length issue. It's not as bad. But this is like now officially maxed out and my ass is hanging off the seat. So, like again, I'm 5'11"-ish, normal length arms. I can maybe get away with this one, but even under heavy load, that belt now is gonna stretch a little bit more and I'm probably gonna bottom it out. So at lighter loads, it's easier to control. Heavier loads, I know I'm gonna have an issue with this one. We're still gonna give it a shot to see how it works under load to confirm that. I will say, these stick a lot better with the rubber on the handle. So it kind of fixes my problem from before. Length of the, okay, that actually worked out okay. It's kind of ironic, you kind of have these like angle 90 type handles here. See how that's like an extra half inch more on the Flexx grips on the angle 90. So just so you guys get an idea of how much more range of motion you're adding, this is a pretty good comparison. We'll move on to another upper back movement next. This is my favorite pull down handle of all time. And I love it, and it feels good for upper back, especially if I can lean back and jig those elbows through. But sometimes I get a little bit of elbow pain, so I'm gonna kind of mess around with the wrist position here. And I think this could possibly be the best overhand pull down machine of all time. Oh, that felt incredible. Now obviously I have these on like the neutral grip portion of this bar, but you could loop this over like a straight bar or a prime bar. There's even these little holes to put the carabiners into if you want to adjust your width on something like a prime bar. I'm using it on this neutral grip portion just because it's like the perfect width for me already. But just a consideration, that felt really, really good. Been doing this one in particular, and I've seen this even on Instagram. This exercise with these handles works really well on a normal height pull down because you can lean back a little bit and clear that extra range of motion you need. On a traditional lat pull down, I don't think these are gonna reach, or I'm gonna bottom them out. This is the world's tallest pull down. I can adjust the height here on this cable. You see how much stretch I get, so I can come all the way through and I could train any range and position I want, but I think on a normal pull down machine, this bottoms out. Ooh. 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 Oh. Ah. Ah. Oh. It felt pretty good. This is definitely holding up well and it's solid. I'm moving fine load on here, but I can feel like it's creaking just a little bit. And I just wonder how long this bolt here will be able to hold on to that amount of force, like pulling it through all day long. Probably a good amount and good enough for most people, but start to really load this up and it's just not one fixed metal handle, I'm a little concerned that it might give out over time. All right, this is gonna be a little jacked and lean fuckery here. This does have a swivel handle, so I'm gonna have a slight amendment to my rules for today's session. But because I'm not using it directly, I'm gonna hook this over so I can get more range. We'll see how this works. When I use like an angle 90 or even a longer nylon handle, this lat row is one of my favorites. It's a little unstable, but you get absolutely gnarly stretch. We'll see if these do the trick. It lets off like almost a little too hard right here, but with a little more load on there, we'll see if it feels a little bit better. But this is almost the perfect leg handle to do this motion on, at least from my arm length. So far, something like a T-bar row has been awesome. Something like a hammer pull down, I think could be a really good utilization there as well, where you have the range you need. The handle just doesn't quite meet what you need supination or pronation wise. Those are so far the two instances where I noticed this the most. And then I guess pull down, like a cable pull down, but again, range of motion might be an issue on that one. Otherwise, for the upper back pull down, it felt pretty good. Movements left, I'm like 6 working sets in. The hammer low row, and I'm gonna do a T-bar lat row, and I'm gonna do a pull down, or sorry, chin up. This is the one I'm most excited to use these on because I've already seen really good results with myself and with clients using some like angle 90 type handles. So this one I'm really hoping these aren't too long for because this one could be completely money. Let's give it a shot. The best part about these handles or adding any handles to this exercise is how quickly you get now 2 really effective movements. Supinate a little bit, you hit the lats pretty well. Pronate a little bit more, gets right in your upper back and traps. So having a handle that's easy to lock in like this one is, and easy to articulate, can help give you more exercise variation, especially if you have limited equipment like a home gym. I felt pretty good. Didn't like stretch through as much as I quite wanted to, but overall it's like a 9 out of 10. That's solid. That works. It works pretty well. Again, just you can't stretch too far, but I definitely get enough to make this an effective movement. And again, I like this just a little bit more than like the nylon slacking that I normally get when I do this one. So this one's an improvement when you use these handles. So my back is sufficiently effed at this point. In the name of science, I'm gonna keep going for 2 more movements for you guys. Rack chins. I don't even have this one in my program right now, but I thought this would be a good one to try it on because this is a good one to have some swivel handles on it. So we'll see how this one goes. I'm gonna target a little more upper back here with a slight lean back and a little more semi-pronated wrist position. That's a good use for him. That's a good use for him. Last back exercise for the day is gonna be some supinated grip chin-ups. It's the one grip I don't have on this bar, so I can imagine this is a particularly good use for home gyms or even a commercial gym where you don't have a good chin-up bar. My current favorite handles for doing chin-ups on are the Rogue handles that attach to the rack, that swivel. Those are fantastic. Right now in my home gym, I've used these nylon handles. That's actually worked really well. So I'm hoping this works more like the Rogue handles. If so, for home gym owners or people who have to bring equipment to a commercial gym, this would be a money purchase. Let's see how it works. Whoa. I am not doing the military test, the Marine test anytime soon. That's okay for at the end of a workout. That felt pretty good. I was able to find the position I wanted at the wrist. One thing I didn't love is that I did feel like, it's just again, like a lot of force come through like this like single bolt right here. I could feel it creaking a bit. So one thing I'd recommend to the owners of my Flexx Fit is just, I'm sure this is rated for like a few reps or whatever, however many pounds, but I feel like long term this might be a bit of an issue. If there's any way to shore that up, something like a weighted chin up, I think would feel a little bit more secure. So recap, whole day is done. I did like 9 different movements with these guys. Across the board, definitely a decent purchase to have for a home gym, or like I said, if you bring equipment to a commercial gym to modify machines. The machines like the T-bar row or like a hammer pull down or the hammer low row really benefited from this. Even the rack chins I liked on that as well. Some exercises, you have to consider the fact that these might be too long to add on, which will reduce the range of motion. And you also need to consider the fact that the resistance profile of the machine could change as a result of using these. But again, across the board, I think definitely a super effective piece of equipment to have in your gym bag. One consideration, again, for the owners of this company, find a way to just make this a little more shored up to, maybe 2 bolts. I don't know what it'd take. And then if we could reduce the length of this just a smidge, just to help with that range of motion issue, I think this would be completely fire. If you guys got any questions on these products, feel free to drop a comment below. I'll keep the reviews coming.